Welcome to this circle. We're so glad to be here together with one another on a new day, in a new morning, as a community of people who greet this day with a sense of gratitude, with a sense of belonging in this beautiful world of ours. A sense of belonging in the cosmos, in this place, in our communities, and here in this circle. So we're welcome here. Regardless of who we are, we're welcome. This is a safe space, and I hope we all can find a place in this circle where we belong and where we fit. We are great at moving from one place to another. We get ourselves together, we get ourselves ready, and we go. More difficult for us is the task of being. And so as we move from getting here to being here, may we center ourselves, may we feel ourselves fully present in this place, and may we sing ourselves into community. Let's join our voices together as we share these gathering words with one another. If you would respond to my phrases. In the beginning, from a dense ball of stardust, all the universe came to be. We live in this world. We are not alone. We share this life with the sky and the earth, with the waters and the land, with trees and grasses. We share this world with fish and birds, with bugs and mammals. We look around us and behold, it is good. We look around, behold, it is very good indeed.
The story of Naamah, who's Noah's wife. In the time when the world was still young, plants and animals and people filled all creation. In Earth's garden, there lived a man named Noah and a woman named Naamah. Noah and Naamah were kind and loving and walked in the way of the Creator. The Creator said to Noah, "Make yourself an ark, a big boat of gopher wood. Build it 3 floors high with many rooms and cover it with tar. Put a window in the ark for light, and do this quickly, for there's going to be a flood." Then the Creator called out to Naamah, "Walk across the land and gather the seeds of all the flowers and all the trees. Take 2 of every kind of living thing, every plant, and bring each one into the ark. They'll not be for food, but they're going to be your garden. So you're going to tend it and keep the plants. You need to work quickly because it's going to start to rain tomorrow. So Naamah tied on an apron of many pockets, and she walked through all the earth, through the fields and the gardens. Her legs grew strong, and her feet were just like wings of birds as she traveled far and never grew tired. And Naamah did as the Creator asked her. She journeyed into the forest and carefully gathered the spores from the moss that makes a carpet at her feet. She placed them in the cool, deep pockets of her apron, away from the light of the sun. She picked acorns from the oak trees and nuts from the pecan and pistachio. The winged seeds of the maples snapped under her careful hands. And so she took the seedlings of the cedar and the cypress and the persimmon and the plum. She found every single tree from acacia to ziziphus. Have you ever heard of a ziziphus tree? Oh, I never had. Naamah walked into the field right past the dandelions. There's the dandelions, pretending not to notice their feathery yellow heads sprouting over the grass. Naamah, called the Creator, gather seeds of every living plant. And Naamah knew the Creator meant the dandelions too, so reluctantly she placed their seeds in her pockets with all the others. And because Naamah had ignored them, the Creator made sure that dandelions would cover the earth. Naamah gathered the seeds of sunflowers and buttercups and dahlias and orchids and jasmine and daffodils, lilacs, lavender. She picked 2 of every kind of plant and planted them in little red clay pots, and then she carried them onto the ark. She collected all the flowers from amaryllis to zinnia. Tomatoes burst with seed, and avocado pits rested in their green fruit. The fields were ripe with potatoes and pomegranates, oranges and okra, lima beans and lemons. And Naamah carried a large straw basket to hold all the varieties of fruits and vegetables, everything from apples to zucchini. When Naamah had collected the seeds and the seedlings of every living plant upon the earth, she brought them onto the boat, onto the ark. And in the center of the ark, she swept away some of the hay that covered the floor, and she made a space for all the plants. She carefully arranged them in groups and families, and every plant was arranged in its own special place. And then she made a sign that read, Naamah's garden. These plants are not for food. Then the sun disappeared. Lightning flashed and thunder boomed. Dark clouds filled the sky and rain poured from the sky. And the water covered all the trees. Noah and Naamah looked out over the water, and they were sad for all that had been drowned. For 40 days and 40 nights, the skies never brightened and the rain never stopped. After 40 days and 40 nights, a rushing wind rolled over the waters and the rain stopped, and the ark came to rest. When Noah and Naamah looked out the window, they saw the black sky become a blue sky. And Noah decided to send a raven from the ark to scout for dry land. But the raven was not happy to leave the ark. Why choose me to be your messenger, said the raven. I didn't give you any more trouble than any of the other birds. Who knows what waits for me outside the ark? Maybe it's cold or so hot that I'll die, and never will there be ravens on the earth. Naamah held the raven in her hands and whispered to him, Do not be afraid. It is the Creator who has chosen you to be the messenger. Take this olive seed, this little seed here, and when you find even a small patch of dry land, let it fall to the earth. So the raven felt comfortable with Naamah's gentle words, and then Noah sent out the raven from the ark, and he carried the olive seed in his beak. He flew back and forth till finally he dropped the olive seed on a tiny patch of land, barely visible above the water, and then he flew back to the ark. Then Noah sent out a dove to see if the waters had gone down, but the water still covered the earth, and the dove came back. After many days, Noah sent out the dove again, and Naamah whispered to the dove, "Bring us back an olive branch that has grown from the seed the raven planted." And the dove flew over the waters, its wings casting a moving shadow over the sea. And in a few days the dove came back, and just as Naamah had hoped, the dove carried an olive branch in her beak. "Dry land," shouted Noah. "The Creator has planted an olive tree for us." Naamah just smiled. The dove went out once again, and this time it did not return. Finally, the ground was dry and firm, and 2 by 2, Noah led the animals from the ark. Some pranced, and some flew, and some slithered, and in this way they spread out over all the earth. Naamah carefully planted all the seeds and plantings in the deep pockets of her apron. As soon as she set foot on the new-made land, Naamah knelt down, put her hands into the soft, moist earth, and made small cradles in which to plant the seeds. Naamah took off her sandals and let her feet sink into the soft mud. She sighed with delight at the touch of the land. Morning gave way to afternoon, and Naamah worked without rest. As she planted the earth around a small raspberry bush, a berry fell off into her hand, and she ate the sweet raspberry. The Creator saw all that Naamah had planted, and the Creator said, "Because of your great love for the earth, I will make you guardian of all living plants, and I will call you Emzirah, mother of seed." For a single moment, the Creator gave Naamah's eyes the vision to see into the future, and from one end of the earth to the other, she saw how the seas were carried great distances and how they landed safely on the soft earth. And as the Creator had promised, dandelions were everywhere. Naamah delighted in how tall the trees grew, and then there were umbrellas of shade over the earth, and there's flowers sprinkled all over the fields. She was so pleased to be surrounded by all the living plants, even the dandelions. She lay down in a grassy meadow, and with each deep breath, she smelled flowers. A gentle wind blew through the grass and whispered to her, just as if it was whispering a prayer, and she fell asleep in the quiet of the growing things. The Creator was pleased with Naamah's work, and to this day, whenever someone digs in the earth and plants a seed, the Creator remembers the mother of seed, and Naamah's garden continues to grow. And that's the end of the story. Story for Earth Sunday.
This reading is from Genesis. Genesis means beginnings. So as we listen to this reading, I invite us all to consider where we came from, where we are, and where we can be by the decisions we make today and tomorrow. God said, "Let the earth bring forth living creatures of every kind, animals, creeping things, and wildlife of every kind. And it was so. God made every kind of wildlife, animals and creeping things, each able to reproduce more of its own kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let us make humankind in our image, somewhat like ourselves. They will be caretakers of all life, the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, the animals and all of the wildlife of the earth, and everything that creeps upon the earth." So God created humankind in God's image. In the image of God, God created them. Male and female, God created them. God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea and of the birds of the air, and of every living thing that moves upon the earth." God said, "Look, I've given you the seed-bearing plants throughout the earth and all the fruit trees for your food. And to every animal of the earth and to every bird of the air and to everything that creeps on the earth, everything that has the breath of life, I have given the green plants for food." And it was so. God saw everything that had been created, and indeed it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning on the sixth day. This is part of an ancient story from the Jewish tradition. May we find wisdom for our living.
Hindus believe that Krishna was the eighth incarnation of the god Vishnu, one of the Hindu deities in the Hindu Trinity. Krishna was born sometime between 900 and 1200 BCE, and his religious teachings can be found in the writings of the Bhagavad Gita, one of the sacred texts of Hinduism. Like in all religions, there are many similarities. Here is an excerpt from the Bhagavad Gita and from the Gospel of Luke. "For one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me." And the words of Jesus, "The kingdom of God does not come with your careful observation, nor will people say, 'It is here,' or 'It is there.' The kingdom of God is within you." This is wisdom that comes to us from the Hindu and Christian communities of faith. May we find wisdom for our living. On this Earth Sunday, we can talk about arrogance in a very specific way. Arrogance is the idea that we are better than another. Our ideas, our things, our ways, our tradition, our culture, our religion, our race, our gender, our very being, you name it, better than another's. Arrogance is a constant challenge for us in our thinking and being as individuals, but it is also a challenge, a roadblock, a sidetrack for us as a whole of humanity. That we are the pinnacle of creation, the most intelligent of creatures, and those who determine the fate of the planet, the universe. It's all on our shoulders. In some ways, we still live in a pre-Copernicus geocentric model of the cosmos. Sure, that everything revolves around the Earth. We know that's not true scientifically. But as a species, we still believe symbolically that everything revolves around us. We are the force around all else depends. It's all about me. Do you know, we're still recovering in the Western world from our Judeo-Christian human-centric worldview. Still recovering from texts that were created to offer divine purpose and meaning to human existence, while saying that yes, we and only we are made in God's image. In the midst of creating plants and trees, fish and birds, wildlife of all kinds, God lastly makes humankind and tells them to be fruitful and multiply, to fill the earth and to subdue it. The Hebrew word is kabash. It means to subdue, to enslave, to push back the hostile, to bring into bondage. Wow. What a way to think about our earth. And we're still recovering from it. In this world, in this word, I should say, its militaristic sense of conquer is the seed of how we have related to nature and to the earth's treasures and resources over the long haul. There are many reasons to translate this into a gentler word, so that it comes in line with our 21st century thinking about ecology and our relationship with the land, but that we would only do to make us feel better. The reality is, this and other texts that became part of our culture and worldview over generations, over centuries, plays into our arrogance around our place in the world and our temptation to take advantage of all that lies at our disposal simply because we have the smarts to figure it out. When asked why our species seems to ignore the trajectory of our Earth's future and fail to tread more lightly on the Earth, Harvard University professor and author of The Social Conquest of Earth, E.O. Wilson, responds this way. Our biggest challenge is our tribal structure. All our tribes have answers for the big human questions of where we come from and why we're here, but these are bound as a dogma of some kind to every tribe. And it's this dogma that other tribes cannot accept. It's not only religion, but atheism isn't the answer either. If you declare there is no God, then you say, "Come, my fellow atheists, let us march together and conquer those idiots who think there is a God." All these other tribes. This tribalism divides us and keeps us from working together to do something meaningful about our planet. The arrogance of our tribe keeps us from seeing ourselves as one human family. And the irony isn't lost on me that as we advocate this dismantling of the walls of our tribes, as we say what a problem our tribalism is, that we're doing that very thing, and we're speaking those very words in the comfort and the community and the safety of our own tribe right here. It's not only religion, but all the ways we're sidetracked by the arrogance of our tribalism that get in the way. When we think solely about our race, our family, our country, our brand, our sports team, it pits us against the other. We counter all of this with a different word. A word that's different than, say, subduing. A word like mutuality. Mutuality doesn't happen when we're all the same. It does happen, though, when we want to live and create a life of back and forth, of give and take, of understanding, of togetherness. If we both have ice cream cones and we both have the same flavor, we could ask, what's the point in sharing? Now, if you have vanilla and I have, say, my favorite, chocolate peanut butter? Well, now we can both end up, if we share, with something new to appreciate. Mutuality is the recognition that we each have a place, that we each are allowed to like different flavors, that we have something to offer, and that we can learn from one another, and that we can enrich all of our lives by being together and being part of the diversity of people by engaging one another and by respecting one another. Now, what I just said, our minds go immediately to thinking about other people, other diverse people in this world, ones we get along with, ones we don't. But do you see how easily we move when we talk about mutuality, when we talk about getting along, when we talk about our relationship with each other? Do you see how easy it is to talk about our mutuality with other people? But you see, the same is true even when we now substitute our thinking about people to our thinking about land and our planet into that very same conversation. Listen as I say it again, and this time think about, on this Earth Day, our relationship with our land. Mutuality is our recognition that we each have a place, we each have something to offer, that we can learn from one another, that we can enrich all of our lives by being together, by being part of the diversity, by engaging one another and respecting the other. Mutuality is our recognition that each creature has a place, that we learn from every plant and bug and animal, that we can enrich our lives by being part of the biodiversity and working hard to preserve it. I think this might be just as challenging a task as creating mutuality with other people. Might be just as difficult to do it with our planet. You know, there's one sure cure to being confronted with our sidetrack of arrogance. It's death. Well, not just death, but the awareness of death. To recognize that we and those we so easily look down upon will end up as the same substance in the end. To recognize that we and those we so easily look up to will end up as the same substance in the end. This is the real mutuality of our existence. We're all destined for the same fate. And I don't say that to be morbid, but to recognize our similarity as living things, as mammals, as no different than plants, as bugs. We all have the same ending, and it's difficult to be so arrogant in the face of such realities. But actually, that's not really it either. The real heart of the matter is that it doesn't require death. The reality that we are all of the same substance is true right now. In life, in living color, in our genes, in our molecules, in our atoms. In fact, the smaller you go, the more alike we are. Jesus and Vishnu didn't know the science, but they certainly knew the truth of it. Krishna says, "The one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I'm never lost, nor is that one ever lost to me." And Jesus says, "The kingdom of God does not come with your careful observation, nor will people say, 'It's here,' or 'There it is.' Rather, the kingdom of God is within you." Thank you, Vishnu. Thank you, Jesus, for that wisdom. The spiritual life, if it's in each of us, no matter what we call it, the love of the universe, the spark of the divine, the kingdom of God, the sacred connection, the essence of life, if is in each of us, then to respect the sacredness of existence is to respect it in each and every part of our world. It reminds us, like Edwin Eklund says in his writing in The Cosmic Circle, it reminds us when we withhold our love, when we treat each other and other creatures as resources, even when we call our exploitation rights or free trade or progress, we starve the poor. We starve other earth creatures. We starve the planet. And most especially, we starve ourselves of life's necessities, of which love is paramount. Perhaps this is our time now when we can ponder the light of the Spirit within us, within each of our neighbors, the light of the Spirit that resides in our very planet and in each of its inhabitants. May our focus on the light remind us as we ponder our lifelong journey from arrogance to mutuality.
We'll share together now our prayers for the earth. To bring new life to the land, to restore the waters, to refresh the air. To renew the forests, to care for the plants, to protect the creatures. To celebrate the seas, to rejoice in the sunlight, to sing the song of the stars. To recall our destiny, to renew our spirits, to reinvigorate our bodies. To recreate the human community, to heal the world's people, to promote justice and peace, to remember our children. On this Earth Sunday, may we join together as many and diverse expressions of one loving mystery for the healing of the earth and the renewal of all life. May we work to make it so.
In the spirit of life and love, we go. In the spirit of placing our arrogance aside, so that we might take up a sense and spirit of mutuality with each other, with all of creation. In that spirit we go. And we take the light with us in all our travels, everywhere. May we go in peace. Thank you. Ah, well.